Hi, I'm Jim Green, Director of Planetary Science at NASA. You know, NASA works with the international science community to
What is up, everybody? It is I, Monkey D Shadow.
I'm Raihne88
Deni257.
And we are the Red Panda Pirates Radio, coming to you today with, oh baby, we got something big for you today.
It's a Biggin.
So, let's jump straight into it. What is Nibiru?
So from time to time, we get inquiries about Planet X, and this is from answeringgenesis.org, often called Nibiru, and the rogue planet supposedly passes through the inner solar system once every few thousand years. And people have claimed that each time Nibiru does this, that it causes a great calamity on Earth and other planets. Some people have linked these past catastrophes to biblical events such as the flood, and it is very tempting for many Christians to link the predicted return visits of Nibiru to the inner solar system with end-time prophecies, such as Wormwood in Revelation 8:10-11.
And that's right, we are going over the Planet X, Planet Nibiru, and what is it, what is about, who inhabitants, who is looking over it, and we're going to just get into the nitty-gritty of that.
And giants.
Then we're going to get into giants. So let's go ahead, let's jump right into Nibiru first. Since we have that up, why not, right?
Well, last time we were talking about Wormwood in the book of Revelation and how it did kind of hint towards what it meant. So, of course, we linked that to Chernobyl, and that also kind of gave us a little bit of insight of nuclear reactivity. So now, we're seeing that the word Nibiru comes from the ancient Akkadian language meaning crossing, such as fording a river. It also has a connotation of transportation, of a transition point. With that, the meaning of Nibiru can be used in Babylonian astronomy to refer to an equinox. But it can have other meanings, such as a reference to the constellation Libra, which is the location of the optimal. I can never say that word in one fell swoop.
Autumnal.
Can we say fall equinox?
There we go.
Because for some weird reason, my mouth does not want to work. Autumnal equinox in the first millennium BC.
And that's not before Corona. I'm just letting y'all know. BC is before Christ.
Not before Corona. Nibiru can also refer to locations in the sky in conjunction with certain stars or planets. And it's associated with the Babylonian god Marduk, which in turn is identified with the planet Jupiter, another great giant. So if we scroll down just a little bit, we see that Sitchin Claim, and that's Zecharia Sitchin from 1920 to 2010. He was actually a Russian-born American author, which I think it's kind of odd that he missed out on this last decade. Sucks to be him, but it's okay, he'd be all right. He had prophesied that the planet Nibiru has a very elongated orbit with a period of 3,600
Now that's
years.
pretty weird that they said that is elongated. With the skulls that we found around the world today, we're finding these elongated skulls. And we're going to get into that as well. I just wanted to point that out just right ahead.
I also think that it's weird that the orbit is basically 6 times 600. 3,600.
Right.
Yeah.
That's odd. I mean, that is very oddly specific. So collisions with some of Nibiru's satellites and other catastrophes on earlier passes through the inner solar system created the Earth, the Moon, the asteroid belt, and comets. Now, we don't specifically believe that because we are Christians. We do believe that God had a great play with all of this. But if he were to create a catastrophe that would take out planet Rahab, and that in turn did create large explosions, then yeah, I could point to that.
But there are archaeologists and others who study this, and they say, yes, that is a myth. That's a lie. So Nibiru didn't create the Earth, Moon, and asteroid belt or comets. Now, it may have a play in the asteroid belt with destroying Rahab.
but the way that the moon itself is, how far it is from the Earth, how perfectly tethered it is, and the way that its shape and its actual density and masses, you see that there has been some sort of intelligent creation to that one essence. So, a visual double star 39 light years away, consisting of two stars like the sun. In 1995, later announced that the Zetas, as she calls these extraterrestrials, warned that in 2003 a large planet would pass very close to Earth, with devastating consequences that would destroy civilization. Of course, that date came and went without incident, and later explained that this date was a white lie to fool the establishment. And she says that this planet X, as she calls it, is still coming, but she was unwilling to reveal the true day of its approach, and says that the government is aware of the truth of all this, but the government covers this up.
Now let's go back to where it says two stars like a sun. We've actually seen in recent times of what country had it?
It was Russia. They had actually
Russia
tweeted video footage from their own news outlet, which I'm gonna have to retweet that again for you guys.
Where
and
it
you
showed
can see a double sun.
two suns. We've even seen the two sun phenomenon as well. One day Rain was taking pictures of the sun, and you can actually see right underneath the sun there was another hump, and it looked bright just like the sun. We're gonna have to get those out on our Twitter at Creative Plunder. That way y'all can see those. But it was just weird. And then all around the world, you also seen these big bright orbs in the sky. Remember, they was taking pictures of the different type of orbs as well. That was bright, just like the sun. So for the two star like a sun, we've actually seen it.
You know, we have seen it more than once too. Because the same way that they like to use Hollywood, of course, Hollywood is always putting out something cool. With Tatooine, you see that on their surface when Luke is out there walking, and you see the sunset. The sunset has the double suns in the sky, and they always say that the Council of Nine made sure that people are starting to be desensitized to the actual truth of space and other things by using Hollywood as an outlet for that. So that planet with the orbit that was so eccentric, it took 3,600 years to orbit the sun, would actually create instabilities inside of our 4.5 billion year old solar system. And after only a few trips, its gravity would have significantly disrupted other planets, whose own gravitational pushes would have changed the hypothetical world's orbit significantly. And we got that from space.com.
And we can see that today with Earth, because at one point the poles actually shifted.
Yeah, and they're still shifting. And we're starting to see how the magnetic field is being affected, because initially we were saying, oh, there's just one magnetic field. And then later on last year, NASA announced, okay, there's not one, but two magnetic fields around Earth, and both of those are being tethered and pulled in a different direction. And right now, True North is starting to lean more over, of course, Mother Russia, where they don't do magnetic fields. Magnetic fields do you.
And then you can also see the anomalies in the weather that's happening and the weather patterns that are going on. You're starting to see bigger storms, bigger hurricanes, bigger tornadoes, larger earthquakes, and so forth and so forth.
Where you used to have a definite winter, definite fall, definite spring, definite summer, and more they're beginning to kind of blend. One is blending over another.
I'm just saying, we can have spring and fall all year round. I would be happy with that. It's not too cold and it's not too hot. It's right there, that perfect in the middle.
And it's not going to happen that way because our magnetic fields suck right now.
Well, calculations suggest that the planet 9 may be about 10 times more massive than Earth, and orbit perhaps 600 times further away from the sun, but on average than our planet does.
So why are we still seeing all these sixes everywhere? I'm just curious. Mostly because Planet 9 itself is also considered another planet of man, or another planet of the fallen. So astronomers around the world were scouring the sky with powerful telescopes as they speak, trying to spot Planet 9 directly. And to be honest with you, thanks to the large satellite that they have in China, I'm pretty sure they found it. There's no questioning that. Because some researchers and many other lay people still regard Pluto as the ninth planet, therefore they use the term Planet X, or Planet Nex, or Giant Planet 5 for the undiscovered object instead, which is Nibiru. Moving further along.
Now, the Planet X, it could get confusing. And this is because of the response of supposed oddities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. Now, you can say that, where our asteroid belt is, that was a planet. And some people still count Pluto as a planet as well. So Planet X, since there's no more planet from the asteroid belt, Planet X would be the next thing because this would be the 10th planet.
Right.
I'm just kind of curious to see, like, in respect to Rahab, like, how big is Nibiru compared to Rahab? Like, I haven't looked into that part, but we'll get to that at some point.
Speaking of Rahab, the destruction of Rahab actually came in the form of passing the rogue planet Nibiru with a massive gravitational pull. It is dragging space debris in its wake.
And we were saying that on rubbinguftruth.com. So with a massive gravitational pull, Rahab was pulverized, as was the atmosphere of Mars, which explains what they did with that random MK Ultra zone in when somebody decided to basically just kind of teleport themselves in via, we're not going to talk about it because that's going to be something further down the road, but it actually made things tilt on its axis, and Earth experienced a vast amount of damage. So it's clear that the secret preparations of the world governments know that there is knowledge of Nibiru's return, and they're determined to keep this information from the public to the extent that various scientists are wanting to share the knowledge have been killed. And it appears that Earth will go through its tail and will cause the Earth to flip over, violently changing our polar orientation, which we're seeing right now, and debris will rain down. And this is exactly what Jesus warned about in Matthew 24:29 about the end times. Now, when you're looking at the fact that we are starting to see more and more technology with tractor beams, lasers, and other satellite technology, we're trying to have more space force, and more of a presence in space. And it's really, you have to keep asking yourself, well, who are we going to war with? It's not just for our own intelligence. It's not just to keep our satellites up in the sky. There's something else. There is never a case where we would just create an entire openly out there military branch for just the sake of, oh, we need to make sure nobody takes our
It's not only just us, but if you notice, many of the countries around the world are doing the same thing.
Exactly.
They're trying to put as much in space as possible.
Who was the one that said that World War III will not be fought on Earth, but in the sky?
See, you heard those echoes through Reagan, you heard those echoes through Bush, Clinton, you also heard it from Putin himself, who told Obama back in 2014, it's either you tell them about the aliens or I do. You also had Paul Hellyer from Canada, who actually outed multiple things, which I gotta check and see if Homeboy's still alive.
The last time we did check, he was alive.
But that was like 2 years ago.
Now, for y'all who don't know what Matthew 24:29 is, it states, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. Now you got to remember, heaven is outer space. Whenever we go out of space, whoever's up there is always saying we have reached the heavens. Heaven is a multi-layer thing. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Which, again, makes sense if you look at how we're still trying to forcefully ensure that everything is good. Go ahead and go back to that picture real quick.
Now, this is what the double sun, what some people say they see a double sun. As you can see,
this is over Japan.
This is the sun right here, and this thing right here is just as bright. They're saying that could be Nibiru.
Now, what I like about that picture that they gave you, like that minor planet that's right there, it really, for those who were big fans of the movie, it reminds me of The Fifth Element and how that other planet was coming as a catastrophe for others. Again, Hollywood portraying what could possibly happen or what is to come or what they do know. So that planet looked just like that in The Fifth Element, and it had massive radiation. It was a rogue planet, and they said that the planet itself seemed like it were alive. I still can't find a clip to this day where there were actually scientists coming out and saying it's either this rogue planet that we've discovered is covered in iron, or the planet itself is actually physically alive. Because that's what it looked like, and that's exactly how it acted in.
And if you're saying the planet itself is alive, maybe it's not really a planet.
Exactly. But instead it's a celestial being.
Or a ship.
I'm thinking ship.
It could definitely be a ship for the Nephilim.
Exactly.
And speaking of the Nephilim, you know, Satan's fallen angels.
Who were they?
Who are they? Well, let's get into it.
Woohoo!
Well, they are the sons of God, who were on earth before the sons of God took human wives.
Well, actually, they existed on Rahab, which
Yep.
is one planet controlled by Lucifer. And if they were on one planet, supposedly, I guess they were also on Mars. So this is why you see different formations of buildings or whatever left from the past and things like that ice tunnel on Mars.
Yes.
You know, so we know if you go through the Bible that there was something here before the earth was formless and void.
True.
So when you say the earth was formless and void, and then it was populated or just replenished. You know, God replenished the earth after Rahab destroyed, after the destruction of Rahab and the catastrophic impact to Mars.
So you do see in Genesis, when human beings began to increase in number on earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of human were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. And the Nephilim were on earth in those days, and also afterward. When the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them, they were the heroes of old, men of renown. And that's in Genesis 6, verses 1 through 4. But you also see little twinklings of that in Greek mythology. So you did see the Titans, who all had different type of powers and abilities. You see the demigods throughout
Roman.
Yes, exactly, the Roman gods, and also in multiple other cultures where you do see quote-unquote demigods.
Well, you
or
got
minor
Greek
gods.
mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, Chinese mythology, and all of that.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have all of those different types of demigods within those cultures.
So, could the Nephilim fallen ones be the giants as reported by cowardly spies in Numbers 13:33?
Well, now, if you go back to Genesis in the beginning, when Adam and Eve is in the garden, and God says, he tells Satan, he's going to be a serpent, and he says, you know, you're going to bruise his head, but he's going to bruise your heel. So it's going to be the seed of the woman that is going to lead to the destruction, a descendant from the seed of the woman that will be, you know, the destruction of Lucifer.
True.
And here, one way to make sure that doesn't happen is to go ahead and pollute the gene pool.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
because if you follow the Bible, in all civilizations, countries, cultures, whatever, have that one flood story with only a select individuals surviving
Alive. Yeah.
and different things like that. But if you follow the Bible, which is what we do, it says that Noah was essentially pure, you know, in his body. So that means that the sons of Noah, his wife, and his sons, they had not been affected by Nephilim DNA.
And
You know,
like just like what it's saying here, as the Nephilim and their offspring breathing on dry land died in the flood. The ones that were on dry land was the emphasis there. Genesis repeat that all died twice for emphasis. Genesis 7:21-23. Some of the survivors on the ark must have had traces of that DNA in their lineage for the remnants of the Nephilim DNA to survive the flood.
Now, since Noah was pure, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about his wife? Was his wife, did she have Nephilim DNA in her?
But remember now, if you follow the Bible, the traits that it handed down travel along the male chromosome. So and even now you see that a lot of things that are inherited from the male chromosome as opposed to the female. But in Noah's instance, his sons and daughters, his wife, they were all pure. But his sons' wives were taken, from out, let's say out the population. So I think that somewhere in there, you got to remember, Noah lived hundreds of years. And as Noah lived hundreds of years, you have people that were being born, And if you research this further, you'll find that not only did the fallen angels interfere with man's DNA or human DNA, but they polluted everything. And that's why God said he would destroy all flesh from on the earth. Because you have the animals, they just, if you want to
They
call
just
it,
got it on with everybody. It didn't matter what you was. Sweet!
And that's literally what they did. And as they went along here, remember now, they were born and they ravished everything. So, they ate the crop. When the crops ran out, they turned against man, began to ravish man themselves. And here it says, it didn't say that the woman volunteered. It said they took for themselves whatever they wanted. So
They were the heroes of old.
And now you also gotta look at it because it says the lineage of the remains of Nephilim DNA to survive the flood. So you actually had hybrid humans that can probably breathe underwater.
Which is where you kind of see that idea of those who
Mermaids.
were quote-unquote mermaids and Atlanteans and things like that.
But not only that, if the Bible says that Noah and his family were found, but remember now, you have to read very carefully. It says, in Noah, he was found to be pure.
Yeah.
So it didn't say that the daughters, it didn't say Noah and all his sons. Yes, all of them went into the ark, but Noah himself was found to
Now
be
you
pure.
also got to look at the wording of Genesis 6:9, which implies uncorrupted human DNA had become rare.
And they did that to ensure that if Christ were to return, that he wouldn't be able to return for humans. As even Deni often mentioned, if everything is already tainted, then what is there left to save if they're all corrupted by that same dirty seed?
Right. And it was important for Satan to make sure that there was no woman that would be available. So I'm thinking that, remember, with Noah in the tradition, with Jewish people, if you follow the history of the Israelites, they were prevented from marrying Gentiles when Noah came out and repopulated earth and stuff like that. But the other thing here is that with God, he gives humans the right of free will, so you can make a choice, and angels can make a choice, because there's those people who believe that no way that angels could have copulated with women. But when you go back and you look at the story of Abraham, before Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, there was 3 strangers that walked into Abraham's tent, and they all sat there and they ate. And if you go back to this again, Solomon and Gomorrah, when the 2 angels went forth into the city to destroy it, and they were going to bring Lot out, the men followed them to Lot's house and said, bring out the strangers for us.
Because Sodom and Gomorrah itself, it both had become that corrupt, and they were just at that point pretty much wicked, and you saw a lot of that. But once you eliminate the impossible, in time news that continues, the Nephilim are not angelic sons of God, not their children, not human giants. Whatever remains must be true. The Nephilim, the fallen ones, were angelic sons of the devil, Only angels can be angelic equals, and that's seen in Job 1:6, in Daniel 10:20, and in Daniel 8:10.
And the other thing is, when Satan left heaven, he took a third of the angels with him. So there's nothing that tells us the exact number. Now, some people do read the book of Enoch, and they also read the book of Jubilees, where in the book of Enoch, they tell you numbers and names and things like that. But that is not a canonical Bible, which means that when the Christian
Bible
leaders
itself,
met
yeah.
and decided which books written by the prophets and stuff like that they would allow into the Bible, the things that suggested details about Jewish beliefs and traditions like that. For us, we could equate that to, say, maybe a story about Benjamin Franklin or some other ancestor further in the past.
Well, they say that the book of Enoch actually focuses on, the fallen. It's the fallen's book.
It's their version of what happened.
Their version,
And
yes.
even though, they do give out names, they too, they don't really give out an amount of numbers, but they do give you the heads or the people who were over certain things. So you did see like which ones were over this amount of what they called at the time, and there in our biblical time they called it magics. But if you look at what Michael was saying, you're saying, they're giving to the sons of man, they're giving to women the secrets of heaven. And that's what they called it, because each angel was over something or another. And knowing that, they had certain secrets, again, of heaven, which to us was like magic, but to them was just common knowledge.
And the Nephilim were fallen angels, and it is said to be confirmed in the book of Revelations. And you can see it here. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon.
Well, hold on, let me correct you. The Nephilim were the children of the fallen angels, because they're the giants. Okay? So you have the fallen angels, you have the Nephilim. After the flood, then you will have demons, because the body of the Nephilim is destroyed, and the fallen angels are locked away in darkness for the time frame when the world will be judged. But Satan is not locked away. So the angels that are locked away are the ones that actually created this hybrid race that ravished everything. And that's where you get am I getting ahead?
Oh no, you're
we're just
fine.
looking
You're
at
good.
What they were saying versus like that, because see, this article itself, for those who aren't gonna kind of pick at it, it is very contradictory. Because right here it says the Nephilim were fallen angels, but further down it says that they're mentioned in Genesis because they're instrumental in the fall of the sons of God. Angels fallen are not physical beings. They conspire with men to seduce the sons of God with their beautiful daughters.
So it sounds like they're trying to
they're
ravish
trying
the truth.
Yeah.
They're giving you the truth with a little bit
of a lie. Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be precise, and you have to read, and you have to understand.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the other thing, there are many places in the Bible where you hear the sons of God. And when you talk about the sons of God, they are always talking about angels. And the thing that goes with that is, if you're talking and saying, well, the sons of God were holy, and the women were the descendants of Cain, but they both would have had the same DNA.
Yeah.
So from those two groups of people, you could not have gotten giants. You could not have gotten people who had double rows of teeth, or 6 fingers on a hand and 6 fingers on each, 6 toes on each foot.
Or even like maybe even you do see it in some of the older, skeletons, presence of a tail or horns in some of them as well.
Right.
And that's just because of the amount of perverse flesh that there was on the planet itself.
And you have to remember too, with the dinosaurs, because as they find dinosaur skeletons, you're finding that some dinosaurs have the teeth, which shows that they ate meat. And then you have some dinosaurs that shows that they were plant eaters.
Which is funny that you would say that, Denny, because after the fall of Adam and Eve, the human population exploded. But if you look further down right there, it says, from the presence of carnivorous dinosaurs in the fossils we record, it can actually infer the corrupting of the genome of life that played a role in warfare. God created herbivores, but only 1656 years later, there were corrupted into violent carnivorous dinosaurs we see frozen in time in the fossil record created by the flood. As such, rapid mutation doesn't occur naturally today. It didn't in those times. And such rapid change requires genetic manipulation, which, if you look at the book of Job, you see in Job 40, you see that he speaks of the behemoth, who is not carnivorous, he's a herbivore. But then later on in Job 41, which is not even a whole chapter later, he's speaking of the Leviathan, who himself was something that men feared, and they were trying to harpoon, they're trying to kill it, they're trying to anchor it, they're trying to get rid of it.
Now,
and
I know
that too was reptilian.
a lot of people are saying, wait, the Bible, dinosaurs, planet exploding. Can we go ahead and explain to everybody, just maybe how does all of that fit into play?
Well, if you look at it, we actually, because I took notes earlier, if you look at White Springs, Nevada, or was it White Sands? White Sands, Nevada, they actually had the presence of giant fossils laying alongside tigers and dinosaurs. So, since that's underneath a large amount of sediment, when you see that amount of sediment, because this was found in the 1920s, and that's very recent if you think about it, sediment's only found when you have large amounts of water washing and eroding away from the land. So when they started digging into that, they started to see that, whoa, we're seeing giants and dinosaurs at the same time, in the words of P. Diddy, at the same doggone time. And that's just insane, because now you're seeing that rapid change was genetic manipulation. It's the same stuff that you saw in Egypt. It's the same stuff that you saw in current things now. It's the same stuff that you see in the secret space program.
Well, not just the secret space program, but recently I saw an article where Japan is beginning to splice human DNA with animal DNA.
Yeah.
And when you also go back and you look at, say, I'm getting a little bit ahead here, but when you look at what's drawn on Egyptian pyramids, where you see the Horus or Anubis, you've got the bird head, or you've got the claws and stuff like that. It's possible that those things actually existed, and that is not a mask that you're seeing,
Very much so. You have the Sphinx, and when you're looking at that, it was a gatekeeper. It was somebody who was there, rightfully so, part man, part lion, and you gotta think that some of this stuff came from somewhere. They didn't just make these out of nowhere. And if you look around the base of the Sphinx, the reason why they say that it dates a lot earlier than what we think is because you see water erosion at the base of the Sphinx itself.
And
so that actually leads towards the flood.
There were two. So if you look to the right, there's a marking, an imprint that looks like it may have had a second Sphinx, okay? And along with the Sphinx and the pyramids, but you find pyramids all over the world.
And that's
every
crazy.
continent you find giant skeletons.
And you also find pyramids among different planets, like on Mars and the moon.
Exactly. So if you look at the rocks on the pyramid, let's just go right back to Egypt, you can't get a sheet of paper between those rocks, okay?
At all.
And if you look at Stonehenge, which is not a pyramid, but again, a very tall structure, it would take mighty men to build these kind of things. You'd have to have some very strong individuals. And as we say, the angels knew, I'm going to say technology.
Yeah.
So
the secrets of heaven.
They knew the secrets of heaven. Now, once these angels are out of heaven, I think, and there's probably some other people out here that think the same way, if I can't get back to heaven or whatever, because I can't just transport or teleport anymore like I used to, then I have to find a different narrative to come back to Earth, right?
Right.
And we know that at some point in the future, Satan will definitely manifest on Earth completely.
And come back claiming that he's the one that created us, not God.
And that's why you're getting such a heavy delusion of the aliens are coming. It's not aliens that's coming. It's fallen angels that are coming. And again, they're doing, I believe that people do get snatched, and that you do have abductions, because you want to go ahead and recreate what was there during the days of Noah. And the Bible tells us that we're going to see what was in the days of Noah before the world ends, or this time frame, epoch that we're in comes to an end. But even now, you're seeing people here and there that are very, very tall, and they're walking, they're moving, they don't seem to be in any pain. Whereas if you have the disease which causes extra growth, you know, that you get some people that are 6-7 feet tall or whatever like that.
Or
but
eight.
with giants, if you go back into the Bible, Mount Hermon, which is where the giants were, they were in, the Canaanites, which was going to be the promised land. And after the flood, giants weren't as widespread. They were in certain areas, you know. You have David fighting and killing one, and then you have one that was the Egyptian. So it's not just what's in the Bible, but if you go back and you read the Sumerian texts, if you go back and you read, say, some of the Babylonian texts and different things like that, so there are other sources that tell you that there were giants after the flood. Period.
So, evidently, the Nephilim were actually prohibited from engaging the humans physically after the flood. And only God's angels are shown doing so. And that's in Genesis 18, 2 through 8, 19, 1 through 3. But that prohibition would remain in effect until the end time lifting of God's restraint on satanic energy. And you see that in 2 Thessalonians 7 through 2 and Revelation 12, 7 through 12. And then our Lord's words about the days of Noah may very well imply that strange marriages between Nephilim and humans will happen again. And they will return disguised as extraterrestrials. And you see that in Luke chapter 17, 26 through 27. So that confirms that DNA manipulation is actually a part of Satan's plan. And we see a lot of CRISPR technology and other genetic splicing. You see Elon Musk trying to do Neuralink. You see Bill Gates trying to push different ways of interacting AI, quote unquote AI, artificial intelligence, into humans, and also just reaching out to aliens with other UFO believers. So modern day satanically generated UFO phenomena features alien DNA manipulation of men and animals. Just like we were discussing that you see in Japan, China, and other places. Because United States itself, we often say, okay, we're not going to do it, but we're not going to say that we don't condone it. And we've been saying that since before Bush, not the father, but the son. And he often said, yeah, we're not going to participate per se in genetic modification or cloning, but at the same time, we're not going to scrutinize other countries that decide to do so. So the Nephilim will return disguised as extraterrestrials with Satan as their dragon commander. And that's in Revelation 12, 7 through 9. But the ancient alien theory is the satanically energized strong delusion. The flying frog demons, out of their mouths the big lie. Satan and his angels are extraterrestrials, and they will cause the great revolt. You see that in 2 Thessalonians again. 2,
well, you already have the great revolt
3
going
to
on
4.
because
Yeah.
you have more people are willing to believe in aliens than demons.
So true. Because if you try to tell somebody, okay, well, I feel an alien is not extraterrestrial, but extra dimensional, then they're like, oh, okay, I could accept that. But when you explain to them that that dimension is the spiritual world and it's actually a crossing of demons into our physical world, then you lose them. I don't see how that works.
Completely. They're lost completely. But when you look at some things that are on the earth that you can only see from above, like in South America where you have the lines, when you look at the lines that form certain things that can only be seen from space. Okay? So how does somebody on earth that's never gone to space make that type of thing?
Simple.
Doesn't happen.
It's simple. I'm just kidding. But apparently somebody needs to know how to place their landing gear. Not everybody can be the perfect captain, and not everyone can be a Han Solo. So they needed to know how to land, okay? But when the Dragon's UFO fleet arrives, the Anunnaki will embrace the scientific atheism. The Elohim will prove that they designed, quote-unquote, they designed the monsters in fossil record, which is the dinosaurs.
Which is true, because they did manipulate the dinosaurs.
They did. So you see the genetic mutations.
And that's how they're going to prove it.
evolutionists-
They're going to duplicate what they've did in the past.
Exactly. They're going to try to embrace that intelligent design that they formerly ridiculed. And God will be the God being the stumbling block is going to be removed. But
And, I think this ties into why when you have skeletons were being found of giants even now and in the past, especially when America was being mined and all this other kind of stuff was going on.
Right.
And as soon as a skeleton was found, it was whisked away, thrown in the ocean or whatever. Or there was always somebody going, oh no, that's not really it. That's not what you're seeing. But if we have proof that there were giants in the past and skeletons of such,
yeah.
then when the aliens, demons, show back up, it's like, well, no, this is just the first time. This is the beginning of something new. But Solomon says there's nothing new under the sun, and I believe that 100%.
Right.
Because if you go to the Samaritan list of kings, they go back 240,000 years. And inside that 240,000 years, they say that Nibiru has come through during that time frame at least once.
Now,
it's
we hear
mentioned.
about Nibiru as the planet or ship, and then we hear about the Nephilim that's on Earth. Well, who runs Nibiru? Well, there are 12 royal Anunnaki family members that actually do it.
I think it'd be wise for us to kind of dabble into a little bit real quick. So here we go. First one being King Anu, ranking number 60. Then you have the half-sister / spouse. So there you see corruption already. Hey, somebody's got a little bit of that southern goodness going on. Nasty. And 2, number 55. And at least 21 of the, yo dog, I wasn't done yet.
My bad.
At least 21 divine couples preceded Anu and that's 21 people. 21 divine couples preceded Anu as the king of planet Nibiru. And keep in mind, many of these folks lived thousands upon 10,000s of years. So we can keep on rolling. I'll go ahead and let you keep going. So then you had, further down the line, Enlil, the son and heir to the king via his mother Antu, who was number 50. And then the spouse, Ninlil, also known as Sud, ranking 45. And Enlil was actually banished to the lower world for raping Sud, who later married him for his crimes then forgiven. He was heir to Anu and Anu's official sister wife, which still, I hate that phrase, born on Nibiru of the double seed, placing him next to be king, even before his older brother, Enki. And you guys see a lot of Enki here on Earth. So let's just keep on moving on down. Moving on down. Wait, go back up, go back up, go back up, go back up. So Enlil actually gave the final approval for kingship to be lowered from heaven, established high priests and high priestesses positions of authority over earthlings for the giant mixed breed offspring of the gods, therefore acting as go-betweens. So this is after Noah. Enlil decided gods would no longer mix with earthlings, and their years would only be 120. There's that number again.
And you have to remember here that the things that she's reading, this is not from the Bible. This is
from the Sumerian text. This is
Sumerian
the Mesopotamian
text.
gods.
And when you go to the Sumerian text, you're going all the way back to when the angels were in control prior to man being created.
And this is their text confirming what the Bible itself said, because what did God say? I will no longer deal with them, and their numbers, their days shall be numbered, and it will only be 120. Don't you think it's weird that everybody was on the same page? That means God allowed it to be so, and they decided to go ahead and say, all right, Lord, look, we're gonna chill out a little bit. Don't keep fooling around with these women like that.
Not only were they going to chill out, but then they decided, okay, after seeing these other ones being
destroyed and
yes,
swallowed into the bottoms and the pits of hell.
So then they realized, oh, we need a new plan.
Right? Because if you look at the book of Enoch, which I thought was really, really odd, they wept over the fact that they knew that their offspring was going to be swallowed up by the flood. And they, quote unquote, put Enoch in a deep sleep, if you look into the first book. They put him in a deep sleep, and they had him go and appeal to God, begging that God not kill their offspring and not flood the earth. And he was like, you know what, woe is you. How dare you send a man that I value and chose to be a man of my own, and you send him to me on the day of my daughter's wedding.
You know what that sounds like? Astral planning.
Right?
But what we know.
Astral projecting.
There we go,
So
astral
there-
projecting.
Yeah, so they claim that he astral projected. But when you look at the text of what Enoch describes heaven as, it's not your average bowl of soup. You know, this is some chicken noodle with some extra parsley. It is not what you think it is. So he really did come hard on them. He's like, no, don't send him to come and plead your case. Ain't nobody got time for that. Y'all gonna die.
Especially when you realize that man has never lived with God.
Right.
And the angels had lived with God for thousands of years.
So then for number 5, you've got Enki and A, King Anu's eldest and wisest son via concubine, because everybody got a concubine. Don't know why. Ranking number 40. Then the spouse, Ninki, or Damkina, the ex-king Alalu's daughter, ranking number 35. And again, this concubine was actually born in Nibiru. So you keep seeing that they're on Nibiru. Again, this is not us. This is Mesopotamia. Their gods. This is what they're discussing. You see the scripts. You see all of the ancient artifacts. It all points to it. So you have Nana, who is known as Nanar, who is known as Sin, who is known as El, or King Anu's grandson via Enlil, ranking number 30. Then the spouse of which is Ningal, ranking number 25, also known as Great Lady. And the eldest son, ruling couple Enlil and Ninlil, were born on Earth. Weird, right? And Sin had a twins with the spouse Ningal, Utu, Shamash, Ina, Ishtar, which is where you get Easter, Eshtar, a boy and a girl, which also produced others as well. And that made the goddesses of the underworld. Again, you're seeing the underworld. So you have Utu, Shamash, Allah, King Anu's great-grandson via Enlil, Nanar, ranking number 20. And that person married Aya, who is not actually giving a ruling number. Sucks. Sounds like she didn't quite make that concubine list. Somebody should have worked just a little bit harder. All right. Then you have Inanna, Ishtar, King Anu's great-granddaughter via Enlil and Nanar, ranking number 15. You see, like this ranking system, I'm just trying to see who made it to the March Madness draft.
Not too many.
Oh man, I'm seeing that.
Well, ranking in the top 10 is
Adad, who's Ishkur, King Anu's grandson, via Enlil, so number 10. And that's actually a younger half-brother to Ninurta, uncle to Utu and Inanna. A lot of this stuff you guys are going to have to really look into. And then, I am not about to slaughter this. Okay, I'm going to slaughter it anyway. Ninhursag, which is Ninma, Ninti, King Anu's eldest and wisest daughter, again, via concubine, Namu, ranking number 5. So, this person was considered Lady of Mountainhead, born again on planet Nibiru. Again, this is the Mesopotamian gods. This is not us. This is not even a Bible. This is their stuff. And this is how you see that she is the sister to Enki, which again, you see Enki a lot on Earth, and Enlil. Why? Because Nibiru made its passes. These people lived tens of thousands of years. They reigned
And
for
if
tens
they
of
lived
thousands
that
of
long,
years.
it goes to show that they were not human.
And that also leads up to, even though people say, okay, well, the Bible says that Earth is only so old. No,
That's not
wrong.
what the Bible
That's
says.
not what the Bible says. In the words of your boy, no, it's not what I said. What I said
And
was.
as we keep going back to Genesis, it's saying that the
The
earth was actually
void,
remade
and they had to
from a dark
repopulate
void.
it.
So that means that earth was actually here way before
And we have
Adam and
no
Eve.
idea how many times it's been destroyed.
Yeah.
But we do know that in the book of Enoch and along with Daniel, because he said it had been destroyed by water, the next time it would be fire.
Yeah. So who knows what else he used the last time prior to that?
And if
Who
you
knows?
go-
Could have
and-
been a reading rainbow. You never know.
And going back to the Bible, it says that when Satan fell, he fell through worlds.
Multiple.
Multiple worlds.
But when he
Yeah.
fell, he was falling from Rahab.
Rahab to Mars and then Earth.
well, he just...
He
Who
fell through
knows?
worlds.
So did he hit every
He-
planet
look,
twice?
I'm pretty sure he hit every planet at least twice. God must have been like puny Satan and just slammed him into every planet and then said, "Go on, go to Earth." Got time for that? So the Anunnaki, and this is from compellingtruth.org, are mythological deities of ancient Mesopotamia, and they appear in the ancient poem, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Again, this is an ancient poem. This is not just the Bible. This is another poem that's also easily referenced in our history. And the famous story of Gilgamesh, an unruly and oppressive king. Enkidu, sound familiar? What I kept telling y'all, Enki's everywhere. A wild man created by the Anunnaki to distract Gilgamesh from his misdeeds. And the epic is about the adventures of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. And it ends with his death.
Well, yeah,
Demigods.
And you can go back to the Code of Hammurabi,
Yeah.
and then tie Hammurabi to Nimrod, who was the grandson of Noah.
Hey. So
So
what we're
then when you
looking
get
at.
into Gilgamesh, you will see a parallel of the flood.
Exactly. Because
And Nimrod is known as a mighty warrior.
he is
He probably was a giant,
most likely.
and they say he hunted men.
I just want to know what size Air Forces he wore.
Really?
I mean, or Air Moses.
Jay's on his feet.
I'm curious, because that's some big shoes, man. Like, your shoemaker, your cobbler must have been, like, on point. I don't care what you say. Dude had hops. So,
But remember, when you see that stone that shows the guy wrestling the lion,
yeah.
think of how big a lion is, and he's got the lion like by the throat or whatever, and he's still
chilling.
shoulders and heads above the lion, and the lion feet are off the ground.
All I'm saying is, dude was past Paul Bunyan, okay? Paul Bunyan ain't had nothing on him.
Well, maybe Paul Bunyan was real too.
I'm starting to think so. I mean, big, tall, white guy out in the woods cutting down trees as big as him. Sounds about right.
But did he have red hair?
He might have.
Because the Native Americans have many stories.
Are we confusing him with the bounty guy?
I don't know about the bunny guy.
Paul Bunyan, I thought he had like brown reddish. He might have had brown reddish hair.
There you go. So you still see that trait, that deity trait of the reddish hair and the tall, great statue and the limbs like
Now,
cedar.
people may ask, how do you get giants all over the world? But you have to remember now
Man, they went everywhere.
that Pangea.
They don't know about Pangea.
Oh, am I going down another rabbit hole?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So first, the Anunnaki are chthonic deities. That is, they are associated with the underworld. Here we go again with the underworld. Then you have to also acknowledge that they were fallen angels or demons. And then second, the Anunnaki are the offspring of Anu, the sky god. But what do we always say? That Satan was always of the air, of light, sky god. The female called Ki. And it's unclear from the mythology whether Ki was a human or a goddess. But we do know that she has no cult followers, so it could be assumed she was.
She
a
gets no
human female.
love. Oh.
Hashtag no IG followers. This corresponds to the biblical account of Nephilim being the offspring of the sons of God. The most direct interpretation were the angelic beings and the daughters of men, again referencing Genesis 6, 1 through 4. So the Anunnaki are offspring of the union of the underworld deities, quote unquote deities, and perhaps human females. And the Nephilim were actually the offspring of the union of fallen angels and human women. Third, both the Bible and the Epic of Gilgamesh mention a global flood event. There goes that flood again. In the epic, a man named, just somebody. I need to phone a friend. Mimi, you got that one?
Oh, I'll just call him you.
Cool. Is told by the god Enki, or A, to build a great big boat to put his relatives and baby animals into the ship. Did he include all the baby spiders? And that's why we can't have nice things. That right there is why we can't have nice things. Baby spiders.
Rain would have burnt the ship, or
I would've
everybody
burnt the
would have
whole
went down.
ship. He'd have been like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'd be like, nah, fam, just burn the whole thing down. That's all right. We swim. We can
Nah,
swim today.
8 legs
Y'all
with
better
all
learn how
these
to tread
eyes.
water.
This is not of
You
your
better
works, God.
Float in your sleep, big fella. So this story is still similar to the biblical account of Noah, which occurs just after the story of the Nephilim in Genesis. So 6:11 through chapter 8.
And we're
verse
seeing
12.
all these different variations of stories of a great flood, whether it's Noah or they call him something else, or the great boat or a ark. We're all seeing everything line up, and it's all basically pointing to the same thing.
Exactly.
They just give it different names and different sayings just to try to throw you off.
And when you think about it, once you start to talk, because If you start in a room of people and you whisper something to one person, you send it all the way around the room. When it comes back to you, it's not going to be the message you sent.
What you said? Play some telephone, y'all. Somebody's gonna start off saying, "Man, Dunkin' Donuts is the best," and you'll get down the line and be like, "Krispy Kreme did what?"
Now, we did find this book online. It's called The Judgment of Nephilim, and it has some real great information in the synopsis of it. And it goes to say that they were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, we see that again, which are of old men renown. And that was in Genesis 6:4.
We go back to Genesis again. So 6,000 years ago, there goes that 6, it war to rule heaven and earth, and it dates all the way back to the Garden of Eden. In the garden, God told Satan that one day a woman would give birth to a male child, the Messiah, who would redeem humanity and destroy him. In order to prevent the child's birth, Satan instigated a fallen angelic rebellion. So he was the guy that was like, "My life matters." Just kidding. I'm not trying to BLM, y'all. I'm just joking. It's not like that.
Do have a question.
Yo.
I want to know. Since Satan and, all of the fallen ones, the giants, were getting on with the women of earth. Now, Jesus was born of Mary, who was a virgin. Was her DNA pure? Was her DNA, human, not Nephilim DNA inside? You see what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah,
well, with Mary and Joseph. Well, with Joseph follows, say, in order, there were some prescribed conditions that the Messiah or Jesus had to meet.
Yep.
Mary, you can trace Mary's family all the way back to Noah. Yep. You can trace Joseph's family all the way back to Noah.
Okay, but what about going all the way back to Noah? Wasn't Noah's wife corrupted with
we didn't say Noah's wife was corrupted. We said the wives. The son wives.
Oh, his son's wives.
So at least one wife out of the son had to have been corrupted. Yeah. And if you follow it back, it's like Ham's wife was probably the corrupted female.
Yeah.
You learn something new every time you go back over stuff.
When you look at it, that's why there was such a push for immaculate conception. It couldn't be a man and a woman, because then you'd still have another child born of sin. So it had to be somebody who could come as God and man at the same doggone time.
And that's where you get, but from the beginning, remember, God says the seed of the woman. So God provided the X chromosomes. XY. I'm not confused here. Hold on. So God provided.
We're just gonna say men and women, okay?
Okay. Right. God Himself provided the material for the pregnancy. Put it like that.
Immaculate conception. Immaculate.
Right.
So with the human DNA being corrupted and humanity hanging in the balance, the Lord unleashed a punishment against the Nephilim so severe, only Noah and his family would survive, which is what we were getting back to. Go ahead and scroll on down. Keep on scrolling.
And that's,
go back up.
And that's basically the synopsis of this book.
Wait, because it goes back into that mountain. Scroll down just a little bit. Scroll down just a little bit.
It's a little bit. Just a little bit.
So that's why you saw that Pharaoh ordered all male children to be thrown in the river, and Herod tried to execute all the male children of Bethlehem. We're not even going to ask why. We know why. That's why. Because they were still trying to get over that hump of, hey man, somebody's coming to mess up stuff. Y'all trying to ruin Dress Down Fridays for everybody, and we're not finna have that. The office party be lit. And God was like, no, y'all need to scroll back just a little bit, put a mask on. Corona's out there, wash your hands, stop touching your face.
Well, with all the speak of giants and everything else, the evidence of giants are all around us, and you can even see the evidence of giants way back in modern times with the Navajo Indians and a whole bunch of other Indians, like like
Comanches.
the Comanches or the Choctaw
Choctaw.
Indians. But something stuck out to us with the Navajo Indians. And Yates also writes, the people of the Navajo legend describing them as a regal race of white giants with mining technology who dominated the West, enslaved lesser tribes and strongholds all throughout Americas. They were either extinguished or went back to heavens. Now, this is what stuck out to us. Went back to heavens. Where? How? How did these giants go back to heavens?
Now, if you look at the Mayan, if you look at some of the Mayan stonework, you will see that one guy that looks like he's looking through a telescope or whatever, and his foot is on a pedal. So that would be the Mayan, because people say, where did the Mayans go? The other thing too is, in the Americas, most people were mining for gold.
Yeah.
You know, like that. And many Indian tribes or nations, they ended up having to fight and destroy, because not only were they mining and forcing them to be slaves into mining this stuff, but they were also consuming the crops and other resources necessary for people to live.
Yep.
So now here you can see we found this book called Ancient Giants of Americans, and they reference the Navajo and went back to heavens, and like they say, it is an interesting choice of words.
Yeah. So were they saying that, it was some sort of lost alien technology that allowed them to fly, or perhaps they went back to Paracas, where the rest of the red-headed, elongated skulled peoples were from?
We found these long-headed skulls again.
But, this giant nomadic type culture,
Right here.
seasonally migrated, which means that they actually had a way of doing things between the mainland and the Barrier Islands, and they were stress-free until the conquistadors showed up in 1519. And the Karankawa were heavily tattooed, pierced, and painted warriors who controlled most of South Texas islands. Nothing really good ever comes out of Texas, huh? Anyway,
Barbecue.
They say go big, go home.
Man, no, their barbecue is just brisket. Like Memphis barbecue, I'm sorry, like just. Anyway, so they even good chunks of land up to 20 miles into the Rio Grande. And they were cannibalistic in nature. So there you go, that worship of Moloch again. You're starting to see Baal. You're starting to see that same cannibalism. And they were expert hunters possessing a well-deserved reputation of people to not be messed with.
Now, another thing that we can say is that the show that you sent me with Cloud Eaters,
yeah.
they were saying that there were actually portals set up around the four corners of the world.
Yeah.
And that's how they were able to go back to the dimension where they actually came from.
But see, here's the messed up part, because right here we're seeing in 1768, a Jesuit priest detailed their ritual flesh-eating ceremonies. And you're actually starting to see an uptick of that again here in the Americas, especially now, where you're seeing people selling off pieces of the flesh of artists and creators, and we're genetically modifying things so that you can get a taste of your favorite
Where
artist.
there actually is a restaurant in, I believe it's
California?
Las Vegas
It's in
or is it California. They actually had a woman that donated her body over to them to be consumed by other people.
And then they
So you're starting to see an uptick of cannibalism today.
again. Yeah.
But so far, no double rows of bottom teeth.
So far. It's coming. So if we scroll down just go on to the next one. Let's go to the next link. Don't worry. I'll wait.
So Goliath isn't the only giant in the Bible. If you think that was the only big person in the Bible, no, it's not. There was actually more than just Goliath.
Got more than 99 problems, and Goliath was one.
I cannot deal with you.
Just saying. So, check this out. The story of David and Goliath of Gath, the Gittite, The names of the hero and the villain have an iconic status, but how many people know anything about the giant Goliath other than that he lost his head to a boy named David from Israel? Which, by the way, a lot of people just think the rock flew and that was a wrap. No, dude took his sword and took his head. Little boy took his head.
Took Goliath's sword and cut his head off.
His own sword. And can you imagine how big that sword had to be? Dude had to be doing some serious berserk.
Well, first
type
of all,
stuff.
he had somebody in front of him carrying his shield.
Right?
Because Goliath carried a javelin and a sword.
First of all, I think that that's unfair. How are you bigger than me and bringing two weapons to the fight?
Now you can see Goliath in this picture. Now this is not the. This is what he looked like. You know, this is a drawing of what somebody pictured him as, according reading the scriptures of the Bible, and you can see how big that sword is on his hip. How big that javelin is. Look at that.
I just want to point out
that
one thing.
shield back there.
Dude's headdress just screams Carnival. That's all I have
He
to say.
looked like he was ready for a
He
carnival.
was ready for it.
But look
bro.
at that shield. That's
That
just
shield
a
is
regular
huge.
sized person behind him. Maybe not a regular size, a little bit bigger, because that's Dave right there. That's David.
Now remember,
Looking at him.
during that time frame, your measurements were in cubics. So a
Right.
cubic could have been anywhere from 14 to 17 inches, sometimes 22.
Man, ain't nobody got time for that. But unlike Goliath or any of the other named warriors, the unnamed giant that you see in the listings between Samuel and Chronicles, they're said to have 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. And this malformation is only mentioned in the description of that giant. It doesn't mention when it discusses other giant clans. But we do see those same malformations in the giants that they found in America,
Skeletons.
Egypt, and all those skeletons that you found. 6 fingers, 6 toes, and double rows of teeth. That was just classic giant right there.
And the elongated skull.
And the elongated skull.
Oh, I went too far. Sorry.
Bring it on back. Bring it on back. So, there's giant clans. So, one, there are the Anakim. Sounds kind of close to Anunnaki, don't you think? Who are descendants from the Nephilim mentioned in Genesis 6, 1 through 4, compared to Numbers 13:33, and whom the people of Israel encountered under Moses and later under Joshua. Joshua 15:13 through 14.
Now you have to remember, God had said this would be the promised land, so Satan had already set up camp. He was waiting for them to arrive.
Right? Because remember, they were trying to get to the promised land, and the Amorites was another group that stood in the way of Israel. And, you know, they were described as being exceptionally tall and Amos. But if you look at how they said it,
book
they're
of
like,
Amos.
yeah, we're like locusts we're like crickets and locusts compared to these guys. They're as tall as cedar trees. And when we look to see how tall cedar trees were back in biblical times, because, you know, you often see that,
Well, that's very interesting because, you know, Satan is sometimes called a cedar tree.
right? So 4 trees have reached a height of 35 meters, which is 115 feet, with their trunks reaching 12 to 14 meters. First of all, if you 12 to 14 meters tall, I got a problem with that. Your dunking skills have far surpassed mine. I'm 5'4". Ain't no way, fam.
You know, in the Old Testament, one of the earliest mentions of giants in the Bible was in Genesis 14.
Yeah, and we're seeing that again in answeringgenesis.org. So in the 14th year, the kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim. Ashtaroth, which you see Ashtaroth also mentioned in more than just the Bible, but also in other texts. And all of these other men that I'm not about to, we're going to say Z, E, and Shah.
Well, remember, not only
And
were they
Horites.
waiting for the Israelites to show up, but in the meantime, they also fought each other in many instances.
Yeah, they did, because they were always trying to just, oh, I'm better than you, fam.
Oh, I want where you living.
Exactly. So we're going to go on down. So the Amorites were mentioned more than 80 times in Scripture and early on. And some were actually allied with Abraham. They were descendants of Noah's grandson, Canaan. There it goes, Deni. So although the Bible does not provide this information, the Jewish general turned historian Josephus gives the name of their ancestors as Amorius. While the Amorites are mentioned in the same context as other giants a few times, they are specifically described as the giants in the Minor Prophets. That's crazy. All I want to know is why it took us this long to find that part. 'Cause I know I saw it earlier. I couldn't remember where I saw it. So, Deuteronomy 2 reveals that Emim, which likely mean terrors, were giants, and they had dwelt there in times past, and the peoples and great numerous, and they were tall as the Anakim. They were also regarded as giants, like the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Emim. So again, you're seeing another clan who's almost as tall as the other folks, but let's just be honest, if you're being called a terror, there's a reason for it. So the Zuzim, or the Zamzumim, also certainly the same as the Zuzum in Genesis 14:5, and they were also called giants, listed in the same chapter as the Emim, and they are also regarded in the land of giants in Hebrew, Rephaim. The giants formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zazumim, a people as great and numerous, and as tall as the Anakim. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and dispossessed them, and dwelt in their place. So you see that in Deuteronomy. So that verse explains that the group of giants that were terrors, that lived in the land of Ammon, God destroyed them so that the descendants of Lot, the Ben-Emi, or the Ammonites, could live in the land. All I'm saying is, hey, he looked out, because ain't no way, fam. Like I said, their dunk must have been like crazy.
Like, just imagine if you was one of Lot's sons and God didn't destroy the Zooms, that's what I'm gonna call them.
You would need the special juice off the Space Jam just to make it happen.
No, not the special juice. You'd be lunch.
Man, right?
You'll be roasting
Remember
on the
how
barbecue.
Tweety Bird hit the wall with the basketball? That would be them.
Pow, right in the kisser.
That would be them all day. So according to Genesis 14:5, the Zuzim were in the land of Ham. And this may be in reference to Noah's son Ham, since they were descended from him. But it's more likely a reference to the Hamathites, who were descendants of Canaan and Ham's son. So the Zuzim and the Zamzumim, first of all, why
Let's
they
just
got
call
so
them the
many-
Z's.
The Zuzus and the Zamzus, okay? The Zuzums and the Zamzums may have been different people groups. But there's similarities in name, description, and geographical location. See, all these Z's got me messed up. To infer that they were variant names from the same group. So y'all from the same clan doing the same stuff in the same region, just messing up everybody's day. Dress Down Friday's just ruined.
Only if in Canaan.
Right? And then the most common term used to describe the giants in the Bible was Rephaim. And you see that in Deuteronomy 3:11 and 13. And it refers to a certain people group, or it may be a term that just simply means giants. The singular form, Riffraff. We'll go with that. Also appears several times in 2 Samuel. And the 3rd chapter of Deuteronomy contains an interesting account of the victory of the Israelites over Shion, which you see that a lot too. Shion, the king of the Amorites, and Og, and the king of Bashan. And here we learn the intriguing detail about Og, for Og was the king in Bashan, remained the remnant of the giants. Indeed, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. 9 cubits is its length, 4 cubits is its width, according to the standard cubit. First
So
of
we're
all,
starting to see a lot of giant
that's
talk in the
some
Deuteronomy
serious
book.
measurements.
Well, look at the cubic. I mean, look how long a cubic is.
What is that?
And when you
I'm
talk
like,
about the
Google
bed,
that. Google that. How big is a cubit in biblical terms? Not how.
well, there were that too, but
It's
anyhow.
a cubit. B-I-T. Hold up. Oh, never mind. There it goes. Second look. Boom.
18 inches.
Okay, so go back. Doggone, that's nearly. Oh my goodness.
And how many
So,
cubics was he?
9 cubics.
So 9 times 18.
Oh my goodness, and 4 cubits in width. That's too big. That's too big.
That's huge.
Even if you just round it up to almost like 2 feet, that's like 18 by. That's too big, big fella. That's 18 by 8. That's a double Cali King bed.
Double Cali King bed.
Can we just call it that?
So his bed was approximately 13.5 feet.
Yeah.
And 6 feet wide.
His coffin was about that big.
Well, they don't know if it was a bed or a coffin.
So he was Dracula too? How many things did God have?
Well, actually,
Blood.
you know,
Blah, let me.
when you think about it, you know, so at that time the average person was really under 6 feet,
Yeah, man. Cause like,
and he's
okay.
13. At least, you know.
That is huge.
Well, your bed would have been just a little bit smaller than you were.
I bet you would have played for the Lakers.
Nah, man. Lakers couldn't sign him. He'd eat the Lakers. And the ball.
Well, it's nothing like crispy.
Right.
Well, now we get to the Nephilim, which is the earliest mentioned giants in the Bible, just prior to the flood account.
And the giants on earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. Here we go with Genesis 6:4 again. Of course, these were the mighty men. So the word translated as giants in the verse, the Hebrew word Nephilim, and many Bible versions simply translate it as such. And you know, everybody likes to debate over it because, you know, some believe that it comes from Hebrew for Nephal, others say it comes from the Aramaic noun Nephil. Y'all are like one letter off. Why are we even upset? And then
Now-
these individuals described in Hebrew as Gibberu.
Now, the Nephilim were mentioned again by the spies when they returned from their exploratory mission of the land of Canaan.
Yeah, but now remember, when they were going in, when Moses led the Israelites
out of Egypt.
would become the Israelite nation out of Egypt,
Yeah.
they had been in Egypt for 400 years. But Satan also had 400 years to populate Canaan.
And he was sticking it everywhere. Oh, they were just sticking it everywhere. They didn't care.
So
Everywhere.
knowing that this
Let me
is
holler
where
at you.
they were going to go, he's failed to kill all the males being born in Egypt and all this other kind of good stuff. Okay, so he's failed to really completely infiltrate the DNA. So now the next step is to wait for these people to come into the Holy Land, which is going to become the Holy Land, and kill them. So he's got his army there waiting, the giants.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, when they came back and said, man, we were grasshoppers compared to them.
That's
You know
small.
how big that is? And
That's
like we
small.
said, like they said, that their legs was the size of
Of a cedar.
cedar.
Just the legs, y'all.
And back in biblical times,
Just
you
the
know,
legs.
Well, actually, remember now, this is a remnant of what was before. So before the flood, giants really were close to 36 feet tall.
Yeah.
After the flood,
They're a little bit shorter.
they're a lot shorter.
And you
so
see,
the
like,
tallest is like 12, 13
Genetically
feet,
speaking,
14
you
feet.
see they kind of regress. Like that trait
Yeah.
regresses
And so,
just
but
a
it's,
little bit.
you know, when you're finding the bones and stuff and things like that, what we find on the earth now, there's usually like 12 feet, 13 feet, something like that.
15 or 8 or 9 feet.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the Amorites and other giant
Not
people
that that
would
is
also
short,
be
mind you.
Nephilim.
no, that is not
That
short.
is not short. I keep telling y'all I'm 5'4". Your girl can't see the top shelf. I need a step stool. Just saying. Keep scrolling. So they are mentioned in some. The Anakim were, again, still so close to Anunnaki, man. They were mentioned in several passages. And in Numbers, it states that they, both the and the Zazus, we're going to call them Zazus, not the bird and the Lion King, just talking about these giants, as they were both a people as great and numerous and as tall as the Anakim. So when you say that they were great and numerous, they keep stressing there was a lot of these people. It wasn't like, oh, they had like one or two. Think of how big these cities were in that time. Think of what the populations looked like. They had plenty of time to go everywhere.
And
Be
you have to
everywhere.
remember, you know, a lot of people, when you're talking biblical and you're talking about the past, and they say, well, they just went from here to here, they fail to account that you had thousands and thousands of people on the earth at that
Right.
time. You know, the city of Nibiru was what, 200,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And that
That's
was,
a lot of people.
you know,
It's like a little New York.
yeah. So if you could think of something, maybe one of the boroughs of New York has been infested by giants.
Let me see one of y'all try to go to the Bronx when there's a whole bunch of giants over there. Let's see it. Let's see it.
And now we're going to get into Goliath, of course, the reowning giant of the mighty Philistines slain by David.
So this is how he was described. A champion went out from the camp of the Philistines named Goliath. This dude was 6 cubits in span. He had a bronze helmet on his head. He was armed with a coat of mail. The weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze.
Oh, approximately 125 to 35 pounds.
His coat of armor weighed as much as me alone?
135 pounds? That's more than me.
She said 125.
Oh, 125. Oh, yeah, that's me all day.
To 135, yeah.
Yeah.
So when he went out to battle, he was already carrying a human.
What you said? Man, look, throw your mail at me. And I promise you, I'll be like, you know what, bro, you win. I'm not even trying. The staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his iron spearhead weighed 600 shekels, and the shield bearer went before him.
How much is shekels to pounds?
Here we go. You about to be upset.
I don't know, but if I can get it in gold, would be all right. Platinum would be better. Titanium?
What you said?
Is it shekels to pounds?
Let's see. So about 0.23
Well,
pounds.
Oh no,
that's
that's money
That's
pounds.
money.
Yeah,
You want shekels as a measurement of weight.
Ooh, I can't spell. Measurement chart.
What is the measurement of a shekel? There we go. 17 grams. All right, for all you
Do we have to do
special
grams to
people.
pounds?
That's not right.
Maybe. Because I can't in the slightest. Isn't 28 grams 1 pound?
I think so.
No.
No.
That's not a good.
What is
I'm
it? 17.
Doing horrible math over
Yeah,
here.
this is horrible. But yeah, that is very heavy. Okay, we're just gonna say that is very heavy. Okay, back in the day, that is very heavy. We don't know God's measurements back in the day. Okay.
Wait a second. So does that mean like 600 shekels in weight, or 600 shekels in money?
Well,
Wait.
I guess yeah, sure. Yeah,
I think it would be like
go with
weight.
that.
I think it's weight.
You sure?
I don't know.
Because I mean, like, would we really compare anything to like how much something weighs in pennies? I doubt it.
No, you're looking
Yo,
at
dog.
dry weight.
You up there looking like a whole 1,000 pennies, yeah. I'm just saying.
You have to remember now, a lot of this terminology has changed through the centuries. So what was the shekel back then and what's the shekel now? It may not be the same thing.
Like,
It may be like, like yen to the dollar or something like that.
Eye of a needle now.
Yeah, because when you read about a camel going through the eye of a needle, people think a hand needle. No, that was a smaller gate inside the wall.
Exactly.
Now there were more giants in the Bible, Philistine giants at that. So just imagine.
But they were
how
relatives
many.
of Goliath.
Yeah.
Tell his cousins to stop messing with everybody. Why they couldn't just go to the cookout down the river? Just chill somewhere else.
Because there would have been no fish left for anybody else.
Right?
You get no fish.
That's why I said down the river, not up the river. Forget that. We ain't got time for that. So when the Philistines were at war again with Israel, David and his servants went with him down and fought the Philistines. And David grew faint. I will too, big fella. You crazy. Then Ishbi-Benob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose bronze spear was 300 shekels. Okay, so his spear wasn't nearly as heavy as Goliath's, but I'm pretty sure.
But we confirm shekels is a weight.
I'm done with you.
Not money.
Who was bearing a new sword, thought he could kill David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid and struck the Philistine and killed him. Sounds like he snuck him. Stole on. Then the men of David swore to him, saying, You shall go out no more with us to battle, lest you quench the lamp of Israel. They were like, Hey man, no more. You are not allowed to come playing around with these giants anymore. Look, let us die for you, but you're not about to let all of our hopes and dreams be bashed upside the head with you while they sit up here and gnaw on your bones like it's a chicken leg out of a 2-piece box with a biscuit. Okay?
I see this term, the weaver's beam. So maybe we can see how long was a weaver's beam.
I'm scared. Let's look at it. I'm scared because I'm
Weaver's
telling you.
beam in biblical times. That's what I'm looking up.
Yes.
What was the length?
Let's see, y'all.
Good Lord.
Say, what was the length?
Look at that.
Oh,
Just look at that picture right there. Look at that picture right there.
Yeah, you can see it
Boom.
right here.
Somebody decided, oh, let's just go ahead and just pretend.
That
Yeah.
is pretty. Just
That's-
imagine somebody rolling up on you in battle with one of those
And just
things.
throwing it.
And just throwing it at you.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll just take my chainmail off and be like, I'm going home.
no, he would never throw it. He'd just jab and keep moving, jab and keep moving.
I quit.
Well, with giants, were they quick? I mean, if
Yes,
you know,
they were
Yeah.
of great renown. They're not like the loping people you see now that are like 9 and 7 and 8 feet
That's
tall.
because they have.
They have the regressed gene. They don't have the official genes. These dudes were up here like literally LeBron and people like gotta be quicker than that. Seriously. Or Matumbo, no, not on my turf. Like, come on, man. They were not playing any games. That's why they were called terrors. It wasn't because, oh, they're just big. No, they were big. They were fast. They could move. They're grabbing you by your hair and chewing on your homeboy at the same time. I have a problem with that. That's why they told David, hey, man, no more. You are not finna come back out here and play with these giants anymore. Go home.
And
Go
be the king. Be the king.
Home. Go be king.
And go home.
Go
Or
over there.
you can, over there, you
Now,
can stay in your tent while we
after
go out
he
and do the
told him,
battle.
you will not go to battle with us. Now, it happened afterward where there was, again, a battle with the Philistines at Gob. Rain, I'm going to let you go with these names.
Oh, man.
You've been doing so well with these names.
Don't lie to me. So, Sibbecai, the Hishitite, killed Saph, or Sippai, who was one of the sons of the giant. And again, there was a war at Gob with the Philistines, where Elhanan, the son of Jare-Oregim, or Jar, the Bethlehemite, killed Lami, the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And we just saw another example
How
of that.
huge that weaver's beam was.
So my question is, if Goliath's family saw what happened to him, how come they decided to go back out there?
Because
You
they
had to prove a
believed.
point.
That they all could die the same way? Great job.
No, that the Philistines were willing to pay a lot of money.
Yeah, they sure were.
Nah.
So yet again,
Didn't work out well, but
you know, there was a war, but there's a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand,
And
6
6
toes on
toes.
each foot, 24 in number. And he was also born to the giant. So when he defied Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, killed him. Because they were smart and they didn't send David back out there. Because we all knew it wasn't going to go down the right way.
Right? David was the OG.
yeah. But we have to remember now, David was a man after God's heart.
Yeah. Which was all the more reason why they're like, go home. You about to snuff out the lamp, bro. Like, go home. Let us fight for you. That is our job.
And we even found about a giant, a Egyptian giant.
Who was a man of great height, 5 cubits tall. Man, that's like what? Think about it, like 5 times 20. Like, oh my goodness.
How come all of these giants had spears like a weaver beam?
Because think about
Like
it.
that was their weapon of choice.
That
Like
was
you had a
just-
weapon of a sword,
If
a
your
bow,
arm-
or something
if
like
your
that.
wingspan
I want that weaver beam, man.
Is that big?
You can have it if you could carry it.
If your arm span is that wide, and when you stretch with the spear, you basically quadrupled your range. So I can impale multiple men at one time with just one spear versus me swinging a shorter sword. So in reality, I don't blame them, because on the battlefield, I would love to just kebab everybody, and then we just throw that kebab on some fire, and we just let that roast, and we get another kebab, and we get another.
You're going too far. Come out the rabbit hole.
Man.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just saying, it seems impressive. I'm not mad. That was smart. So, although he's often considered a giant, the Bible does not specifically identify this man as one. Why? Is beyond me, because dude was 5 cubits tall. Nor does it place this account with the exploits of
So
David's
5
other
cubits,
men.
approximately what, 7.5 feet?
About, yeah, I guess, you know.
7 feet 6 inches.
So he was like Yao Ming.
He didn't hit that threshold of a giant.
That's messed up. So y'all not gonna let him have the Egyptian Guinness World Book of Records just because he didn't quite hit 8 feet? Alright, Bible, I see you, but that's messed up.
And then you have to remember, because you had the Egyptian cubic, you had the common cubic, because they measured in cubics, but the cubic was not a standard measurement. And then you had the royal cubic. But knowing that Moses had been a prince of Egypt, and remember he was educated in the Egyptian, school of thought. So I'm just saying school of thought, because he grew up, he would have known all the secrets of Egypt and stuff like this. So that would have probably been the cubic that he used.
And to be honest with you,
and that would have probably made him more than 7 feet.
Look at our feet versus the metric system. 3 feet for us is not exactly an exact meter for them overseas. Let's just be real. We did that wrong, okay? A lot of us did.
But there are a lot of people who say, well, no, we haven't found anything, so giants don't exist.
Well,
but there are many, many newspapers from the turn of the century in America where you have the giant skeletons and stuff, which were secreted away a lot of times by the Smithsonian, and you never saw it again. You never saw it mentioned or heard of. And nowadays, when you discover a skeleton of a giant, you don't see that on the evening news.
Sure don't.
No, they don't want you to know. But following these accounts in 2 Samuel and 1 Corinthians... Chronicles. Ooh, I'm so sorry. 1 Chronicles, the giants just fade away from the pages of Scripture.
Now, is it that they actually fade away, or is it just because you're seeing less and less of them, or they started to kind of be squirreled away?
No. Remember,
because there were clans that were wiped out.
No, the giants were wiped out because remember, God was with the Israelites as they swept through Canaan.
Wow.
Because remember, he had promised that land before.
That is true.
Because Abraham didn't come out of Egypt. Moses came out of Egypt. And because you go Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, and so forth. So you're looking at what, several hundred years?
Yeah.
Because God had already designated. And remember, Satan is still allowed in heaven. And in the Bible you read that there was a time when all the angels came before God to give a report.
Now, I know you rolled right past it, but they did kind of give you a generic idea. The Egyptian killed by Benaiah was at least 7'6", perhaps a little bit taller if the common cubit was not being used. But he's not called a giant. And in the Egyptian document, The Craft of the Scribe, placed by Shasu Anakim, between 6'10" and 8'7". And they had to be large enough for the Israelites to claim that they looked like grasshoppers in the sight of the giants. And for God himself to compare the height of the Amorites, again, to cedars.
Now, if God is comparing them to cedars, and we see that cedars have a height of 35 meters, or 115 feet. That is huge, man.
Well, the trunk can reach up to 39 feet.
That's just the trunk. He didn't say, oh, the trunk of a cedar. He said, of cedars.
Exactly.
But if you looked at that Hennessy commercial that we had from last year, and you see the giants walking amongst men, you could understand why he said they were as tall as cedars.
And they're walking and smiling, so I'm wondering if they're thinking lunch later.
I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be around to find out. They're about to take those umbrellas and make them a cocktail. Straight up.
Well, I guess that's a new twist on the Bloody Mary.
Pretty. Ooh. Salty. All right.
But that's going to do it for this giant episode.
It's a big one.
But we want to just say thank you all for coming out. I am Monkey D. Shadow.
I am Raihne88.
And this is Deni257.
And we are the Red Panda Pirates Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at Creative Plunder.
Yarr.
You can hit that follow button on Twitch to see when we do go live. And we just want to open it up to y'all. Does anybody have any questions for us about anything that we went over? Definitely let us know. We would love to answer anything that you have.
And even get more in depth into the other topics that might be kind of piquing your curiosity.
Now, next episode, we will find out who, not that, but who are the Watchers in the Bible? Whoa, y'all didn't know about the Watchers? Or the second cosmic war or war of heavens? Oh, just wait, we will find out. And Rain, what else are we gonna cover?
Space aliens are breeding with humans. Or at least that's what certain instructors say. And we're actually looking at that because they mentioned this last year, and anytime they mention it, it's usually already going on. Get jiggy with it.
All
Will
the
don't
copyrights.
Come for me. Will don't
So,
come for me.
Tune in next time. Like I said, we are the Red Panda Pirates Radio. Happy plundering, plunderers.